Howdy, 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 my name is Anachi Sasuke. Welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, we started with the Sleepwalker's Tunnel and stopped at the Editor Beetles, and all of it was pretty interesting, and I think the Song of Genesis might have been Keter. I know something was Keter in there someplace. In this one, we're going to be starting with Ancient Precog, and we're going to go up through the Harvested Man, which sounds like it's probably terrifying, so let's check this one out. Well, it's a lady, and they're safe. SCP-411 is to be kept in a standard humanoid containment suite at Existential Isolation Facility blank at O5 clearance required. All reasonable requests made by 411 are to be met where possible. A bank of television screens displaying 24-hour news coverage is to be provided for 411's use. Requests for text and devices that do not yet exist are to be filed until such a time as they can be accessed. At the moment, 411 is not considered a containment risk. All information gathered from 411 is to be stored at the Existential Containment Unit and is to be disclosed at the discretion of Dr. Blank only. All staff leaving Existential Isolation Facility blank are to be administered with Class A amnesiacs, which is supposed to be amnestics. Description: 411 is a gray-haired, blue-eyed Caucasian male of incredibly advanced age. I thought that was an older woman. Sorry about that, 411. My mistake. Estimates of his biological age, based on information divulged in interviews, are in the region of 400 years. 411's nature means that special interview and linguistics training is required by all research staff. They age in reverse, growing younger at the same rate that a normal human ages. 411's memory also functions in reverse. They have no recollection of past events, but can recall the future. Much of the information we've gathered about 411 originates from the work of a Dr. Lytacker, an individual who appears not to work for the Foundation as of yet, via the recollections of 411 himself. As such, caution is to be used when applying this information. 411 speaks an as yet unknown dialect of English that has significant grammatical and vocabulary deviations from modern English. Individuals who are to be given training in this language will benefit from a background in Spanish, Mandarin, and/or Cantonese, blank, and Haskell. 411's ability to recall future events is hindered by his advanced biological age. Events more than a few months into the future are often forgotten, and the details of events in the near to immediate future are often vague and unclear. Events surrounding persons he's familiar with are often more clear, but omissions are not uncommon. In addition, deviations from 411's memories of the future cause 411 significant mental harm and can often render him catatonic for days. Due to the potential for valuable data to be lost in this fashion, particularly as one recollection often triggers other more significant recollections, 411's memories are only to be acted upon in the following situations. Risk of serious injury, security breach, or death of the founder, mandatory. Risk of K-Class scenario, mandatory. Risk of Class 1 security breach, mandatory. Death of O5 personnel, advised. Risk of significant and destructive SCP containment breach, advised. Risk of Class 2 security breach, suggested. Risk of multiple senior research staff deaths, suggested. While a full course of training is required to interact with 411, the following guidelines should be followed if emergency meetings are required. From the viewpoint of 411, your first meeting is your final meeting. Distress or other heightened emotional states are not causes for concern. 411 will reference events in your future as if they were in your past. Do not attempt to act on these events. 411's perspective on an event is roughly opposite to that of a normal observer. 411 will answer your questions before you ask them and will not recall any point in the conversation prior to your current question. Do not fail to ask questions 411 has answered. 411's advanced age should be taken into consideration when interviewing him. Overlong sessions can leave 411 physically and mentally drained. His overall memory is poor. For example, 411 often cannot recall what he will have for dinner later that evening. It is unknown when Dr. Lytacker will join the Foundation, but it has been decided that he is not to be actively sought. Upon his eventual recruitment, a data breach is to be staged, and all information regarding 411 is to be wiped to prevent ontological paradoxes regarding 411's abilities. Okie dokie. Well, that's interesting. Next up is the mutagenic mirror, which is probably going to be safe. Okay. 412 is currently contained within Storage Unit 11 at Site 19. Removal of the item requires authorization by no fewer than 3 personnel with level 3 clearance and may be vetoed by site security. Gloves should be worn when handling 412, and the item should be transported in an opaque container. Staff interaction must be carried out with full observance of Hazmat Protocol 7R. Any and all staff making physical contact with or direct observation of 412 will submit to a full physical examination. Anyone found to exhibit physical alteration will be remanded immediately to quarantine. So what is it? It is an antique silver hand mirror measuring 18 by 7 centimeters. The mirror has a 4 centimeter crack in the top left-hand corner, and has an etched motif of roses and vines. Around blank percent of subjects within direct line of sight of 412 report a compulsion to pick up the item and view their reflection in it. There does not appear to be a discernible pattern to these selections. Testing for possible genetic, mental, or other selection markers is ongoing. Simultaneous observation and contact with 412 causes the item to connect with the subject, regardless of whether they have been coerced into doing so by 412. Tests using restrained subjects have shown that both actions, touching and viewing the reflection, are necessary for a connection to be made. No means of severing this connection have been found, short of complete isolation for a period of no less than 2 years. Connected subjects are compelled to repeatedly view their reflection in 412, initially only once or twice a day. Viewing frequency increases over a period of several weeks. By around day 55, the amount of time subjects spend viewing their reflection typically begins to exceed all other activities, including sleep. Each viewing causes biological alteration to the subject, beginning with minor physiological changes such as enlarged lymph nodes, facial rash, or skin discoloration. Although the exact pattern differs between subjects, by day 90, almost all subjects show downward extension of the rib cage, fixed open jaw by way of large cysts towards the rear of the mouth, and severely compromised reproductive and immune systems. Subjects also show continual loss of memory recall ability and emotional response. fMRI scans have shown a marked decrease in activity in subjects' amygdalae and parietal lobes. I think it's amygdala, but whatever. Interviews have shown that subjects appear to have an obsession with an other for whom they are being made ready. Subjects who survive to the advanced stages of alteration in excess of something 100 days begin to exhibit marked changes in behavior and more drastic physical alterations. These include the reorganization of internal organs, leading to the creation of a small empty area inside of the chest, increased mucus production and changes in hormone production, and data expunged. Autopsies on advanced stage subjects have shown that the cavity could theoretically support a separate life form. This led researchers to speculate that the alterations caused by 412 intend to turn the human body into an environment suit for a life form unaccustomed to Earth's atmosphere. Authorized personnel should refer to Addendum 412-2 for further details. So, first addendum, the circumstances of retrieval. 412 came to the attention of the Foundation following 5 unexplained deaths in blankety blank, matching the pattern described above. 3 of the deceased owned a hand mirror of similar age. The design varied considerably. Only one mirror had reasonably intact glass. Once it had been established that the mirror was responsible for the mutations, it was taken into Foundation custody. The remains of the other 2 mirrors showed no unusual properties and were disposed of. Testing and observation has led researchers to theorize that 412 is not the mirror itself, but is in fact an outside force that anchors to mirrors. This theory is unproven, but any mirror suspected of exhibiting similar behavior should be acquired and contained. Addendum 2, Event 412A. On blankety blank 2000-something, disposable due 56-653, 200 days after initial quarantine to connection to 412, ceased viewing his reflection and sat calmly in the corner of the quarantine room. 3 hours later, the subject began convulsing and clutching his chest. This continued for 3 minutes, after which time the subject lay immobile, apparently deceased. Once death had been confirmed, subject's corpse was taken for analysis. Pathologists found a small 8 centimeter, vaguely humanoid redacted within the artificial chest cavity. Organism had been connected to the subject's blood supply and nervous system and had begun to extend tendrils upward, puncturing the subject's trachea. Cells in the top approximate 5 centimeters of tendrils showed a similarity to those in the optic organ of copepods, although with much more complex structure. The origin of the organism and its cause of death are currently unknown. And what's a copepod? Small crustaceans found in the sea and nearly every freshwater habitat. Okay. Now it's time for 413, the Endless Garage. Too bad 413 didn't happen last Friday, that would have been cool. All entrances to 413 are to be sealed and put under armed guard. Under no circumstances are any unauthorized persons allowed to enter 413, with guards authorized to use lethal force. Any personnel entering 413 for experiments are required to wear GPS trackers and safety lines at all times. Should containment be breached, or by 05 decree, Containment Protocol 413 must be immediately enacted by the highest ranking personnel present. So what is it then? 413 is a 4-story parking garage located in Redacted. Inside, 413 has a variable environment that dynamically alters itself. In effect, 413 is able to change its internal structure, such as moving ramps, adding floors, changing staircases, and so on. However, when observed from the outside, there is no indication of any of these changes taking place. While accurate measurement of 413's interior has proven impossible, it is well established that the interior is larger than the building's external dimensions, and that the interior dimensions are constantly changing. So it's a TARDIS. Another effect of 413 appears to have is to interfere with an individual's sense of direction. Analysis of recordings taken of the interior reveal that 413 generates a low-frequency sound within its interior that shuts down or interferes with several key regions of the human brain controlling navigation, balance, and short-term memory. Extended exposure to this sound is known to cause several side effects such as nausea, dizziness, vomiting, vertigo, anxiety, claustrophobia, and in some rare cases, data expunged. However, these effects will eventually wear off once the affected individual leaves 413. What if they wear earplugs? Under no circumstances are personnel to enter 413 without navigation aids and safety lines. Navigation within 413 without the use of artificial aids such as GPS or safety lines is nearly impossible, as the combination of the constantly shifting interior as well as the disrupting sound frequency interfere too much with the natural human navigation. 413 was discovered when a security guard that worked at the site turned in security tapes of 413 to the local police department, suspecting that they had been tampered with. The tapes were immediately confiscated and the entire site was bought out by the Foundation. Addendum 1. After several incursions, it has been discovered that 413 is in fact sapient. Though not evident at first, 413 is capable of independent thought and possesses human-level intelligence. Communication was initiated via the painted words and signs on 413's walls, which it is able to manipulate to form individual words and sentences. Analysis of 413's behavior suggests that it is highly mischievous and enjoys fooling around and playing pranks on the unsuspecting. However, it does take great offense to being wronged and is shown to possess a vengeful and even maybe sadistic side. See Addendum 2. Interview log. Hello, 413. Hello, Doctor. Alright, let's get this interview started, shall we? How long have you been aware of your own existence? Since the day I was built. And when was that? I don't remember. It's something I don't think about. Why are you constantly changing your interior? Because it's boring sitting here all day. So you don't do it for any particular reason? I do it for fun, but the others don't approve. Others? The buildings next door and across the street don't believe I'm a productive member of society and that I will give away their plans. What plans? That we attack tomorrow! Just kidding, did you see that look on your face? It's hilarious. I think we're done for today. You're no fun. Video logs. The following video logs were recorded by security cameras before 413 was discovered and contained. Subject, family of 6 turrets. Tourists. I said turrets. It proceeds to thwart any attempt for them to find their vehicle. It continually changes signs and markers to mislead and confuse them for the next 20 minutes. Neglectful mother and her child. So it is continually led around in circles, with every path she takes eventually leading her back to her car, where she was keeping her child locked in. The cycle continues for 7 minutes before the subject finally gives up and leaves 413 with her child. Okay, so that's interesting. The lady was just trying to leave her kid in the car, and 413 is like, nope, 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 back to your car, that's not okay, nope. Subject, businessman. By manipulating ramp and sign placement, 413 leads the subject around in circles and forces him to drive through a complex and confusing path before letting him exit. 5 teenage vandals. They enter and begin vandalizing vehicles and the interior of 413. Data expunged. Addendum 2. The 5 teenage youths seen in video log were found on blankety blank 2000-something by a Foundation exploration team. They were still alive, though exhausted, malnourished, and dehydrated despite being declared missing for over 3 months. Before being administered Class A amnesiacs and returned to their families, the 5 teenagers revealed that they were locked in an inescapable labyrinth created by 413 and were only kept alive by several water fountains and vending machines that would conveniently appear. They also stated that data expunged. The 5 teenagers were apparently inside 413 for the entire exploration phase, somehow eluding our deep sensing equipment. Further exploration suspended pending further review. Containment Protocol 413. Due to the inability to plant demolition charges within 413, contingency in the case of a major containment breach will instead be carried out by a cruise missile or airstrike. As such, either the USS Blank, SCP's Defender, or fighters from Blankety Blank Air Force Base or NASA Blank must be kept on standby. What could possibly be a major containment breach for a sentient parking garage? What do they think it would do? It's a parking garage! Anyway, regardless, I might prefer myself sick. Time for some water for the Keter voice. SCP-414 is currently uncontained. Containment efforts focus upon mitigating media attention and providing social work programs to demographics targeted by 414. Individuals affected by SCP-414 iterations must be dosed with Class B amnestics upon recovery and are to be kept under observation. Individuals reaching the final stages of 414-2 are to be contacted by a Foundation and Social Work Front company. Individuals under the final stage of 414-2 are to be treated with a tri-weekly talk therapy and trained animal companions where applicable. As it is beyond the Foundation's resources to perform surveillance on every possible target of 414, records from social work organizations and mental health care centers are to be traveled for 414 phenomena when possible, where possible. Any media reporting of SCP-414 phenomena are to be removed and a cover story provided. A list of applicable cover stories can be found in Document 414-B. Description. A cure for SCP-414-2 is to be considered the highest priority after successful and complete containment. SCP-414 is a phenomenon that targets asocial humans and is categorized into two derivative effects, 1 and 2. The asociality may range from minor introversion to complete isolation. 414 primarily affects individuals under the NEET demographic with no regional preferences. Not in education, employment, or training. 414 begins when a humanoid in a circular mask, referred to as 1, appears in front of a targeted human. 1 typically claims to be an employee for a local social work organization. 1 are uniformly tall humanoids wearing circular masks and clothing that covers the whole body. 1 only appear when attempting to contact a targeted individual and disappear after successful contact has occurred. 1 is believed to have a single collective consciousness capable of sapience, cognizance, and intelligence. 2 is a chronic degenerative condition resulting from any successful interaction between a targeted subject and an instance of 1. Successful interaction occurs when 1 has a successful face-to-face conversation or contact with a targeted subject. A successful conversation is defined by at least 1 spoken phrase and 1 spoken reply. A subject that has been contracted 2 undergoes 4 stages lasting between 2 and 276 days, with a 5th stage believed to be permanent. Individuals who are under 30 years of age or who have received 2 through physical contact progress through the stages at an accelerated rate. There is no cure or treatment available beyond coping mechanisms. 2 has a fatality rate of 46.78% over 5 years and 67.84% over 10 years. Individuals over the age of 40 have a significantly higher fatality rates of 87.23% over 5 years and 93.85% over 10 years. All fatalities are a result of suicide. Incident 414-A. At 6:02, Dr. Elisa Chuang, then Principal SCP-414 research scientist, was contacted by 3 of 414-1. There was a successful conversation transcribed below. Dr. Chuang was succeeded by their primary assistant, Dr. Alice Agawa, immediately after Incident 414-A. Despite constant social interaction and animal companionship, they committed suicide on September the 3rd, 2015, 965 days after advancing to Stage 5, SCP-414-2. That's not how many days are in between that. That's less than a year. September the 12th of 2014 to September the 3rd of 2015 is not 965 days. So first, let's check out the symptoms. Stage 1. Subject feels increasingly lonely. Coping mechanisms not involving face-to-face interaction to distract from loneliness cause an increase of feeling. Subject experiences a loss of pleasure when participating in solitary activities. Stage 1 advances when the subject interacts with another human to alleviate loneliness. In Stage 2, the subject experiences a total loss of pleasure when participating in activities not involving in-person interactions with others. They begin to have difficulty recalling events in their life that contributed significantly to their sense of self, but is cognizant of and can recall having such events. Stage 2 advances when the subject interacts with other humans at least once every 7 days. Stage 3, the subject is incapable of feeling fulfillment unless interacting with other humans once every 5 days. They are unable to recall ever enjoying solitary activity or their life before the age of 13. Subjects remain cognizant of this inability. Their sense of self is reduced. Stage 3 advances when the subject participates in social events at least once every 7 days. Stage 4, the subject is incapable of feeling fulfillment without interacting with other humans once every 45 hours. They are unable to recall having significant relationships lasting more than 2 years and are cognizant of this inability. Any sense of self is reduced to name, gender, age, and current emotional state. Subject usually becomes highly productive to feel fulfillment, participating in a range of social activities such as volunteering and hosting gatherings. The circumstances to advancing to stage 4 are currently unknown. Stage 5 is currently considered the final stage. They develop hallucinations and sensations of being physically hollow or empty when not currently participating in social activities, causing them to become upset when not in proximity to another person for any length of time over 15 minutes. They are unable to recall having significant relationships and are cognizant of this inability. At least blank individuals have been confirmed to have reached stage 5. For a list of confirmed 2 cases and extensive description, please refer to document 2A, notable cases of 414-2 and 414-2 MacGyver Jacob, the oldest case, and 414 Kyung Myung, with the shortest recorded interval between diagnosis and suicide of 48 hours. There is no cure or treatment available beyond coping mechanisms. I already read that. So, Incident A, when 3 SCP-414-1 humanoids appear at Dr. Chuang's office door. They can be seen walking to their office, stops upon seeing the group of 1. The group of 1 moves towards them at a speed of approximately 1 meter per second. The humanoid grasps by the wrist as they attempt to leave. They begin to struggle and shout for assistance. Security arrives, can be seen waving their free arm and shouting, "Do not approach! Do not talk! Stand there, please!" Security draw weapons aimed at the group of 1 but do not fire. Turns back to the group of 1. If you wouldn't mind, could you answer a few questions? Why are you doing this? How do you benefit from doing this to people? In unison, they work so little, they are held up when they need to be the foundation. The young so much so. I will help every one of you. Even when they kill themselves? Even when they forget who they are? How does that help? What is your reasoning? It is a last usefulness to society to die and leave resources for others. Others make use of them. Forget yourself for your society. You cannot be egotistical when the ego is carved out. Selfishness, I will cure it. By excising the tumor, I cure society and make the loss find purpose. I help. But society needs that! They need individuals. Selfishness can drive and motivate success. Recoiling collectively, you are sicker than I thought. You may be kind among your human populace, but I have surely known kinder men. I thought you, who worked for the good of all, would be my ally, but it's alright. I will take care of you. You will feel better when I'm done with you. Why did you come to me? Who are you? Where are you from and how do you work? Can be seen attempting to free themselves from the grip on their arm. You want to stop us, but you are trying to stop helping. You are secure, contain, protect. I'm society, community, progress. A shepherd for humans. You are a sick, lost lamb, not for much longer. Attempts to speak, but in one instance puts a gloved finger to their lips. The instant pets their head and presses its mask against the side of their head, accompanied by a kissing sound. The group produces a flash of light and the camera feed cuts for 0.3 seconds. When the feed is returned, they're all missing and he's on the floor kneeling with his head in his hands. Dr. Eliza Chuang, Dr. Elisa Gawa. This interview occurs 35 days before they are confirmed to have entered stage 5. Good morning, Dr. Chuang. How are you feeling? Good morning! Your face is so... it matters little. You're here. It is good to see you. Could you explain what you were about to say regarding my face? It was so... I once knew a face. I cared for someone. An assistant. I had an assistant, but I don't remember them. I see. How do you feel when you remember that you used to remember? It is an unpleasant emotion, definitely. I remember that I used to know and feel so much. I once had a past, but it's gone now. I used to have a project, but that's gone now. It's all gone. But enough about me. What's important to you? Tell me more about yourself. My research is important to me. It was The life work of my mentor, and now it's become mine. It's what connects me to them. It's good you have something to believe in. That's necessary. Someone always has to believe in something with all their being. That's how humanity makes progress. Individuals pursuing what they believe in. Where's your mentor now? Quietly. No longer with me as I understand it. How unfortunate. I'm so sorry. Can I help you? May I be your assistant or keep you company in the laboratories? As I understand, they can get very quiet and lonely. Thank you for the offer, but I think we're done now. Wait, please, wait just a moment. Could you at least tell me your name? Alice. Just Alice. I'm glad to have known you, Alice. I'm sure this research is stressful for you. I'm sure you've made your mentor proud, and I think that's what an assistant would want, is to succeed their mentor? Not as much as I want them back. Thank you for your kind words. Goodbye. Goodbye! Keep your head high, it'll get better. Have faith. Closing statement. Dr. Agawa no longer performs routine interviews with Dr. Chuang. Routine interviews will be conducted by Dr. Somebody. The Harvested Man. The Harvested Man is safe, for some reason. Okay. SCP-415 is to be kept in a standard living quarters with freedom of movement while with an armed guard. Guards and monitoring staff are to be stationed by the living area, and all activity deviating from the daily norm is to be recorded. Requests for simple luxuries have been authorized, and thus far such requests have been for reading material. This policy should continue as long as 415 remains cooperative. Personnel interacting with 415 show a particular risk of succumbing to sympathetic or emotional attachment. Due to this effect, the staff assigned to 415 should be rotated every 30 days. So what are they? 415 is a 176.9 centimeter tall Caucasian male with 36 years. And how tall is that? No, not yards. Foot. So they're 5'8". Why did they measure that in centimeters? Like, I know that feet are what my country uses, but there had to have been better ways to measure that than centimeters. Caucasian male, 36 years of age. His blue eyes, receding brown hair, and appears to be human. Subject exhibits an average IQ and a relatively stable personality given its situation. He's cooperative with on-site staff, though is nervous around medical equipment and personnel. 415 seems to possess a regenerative healing ability focusing on tissue and organ regrowth. This ability is most pronounced concerning its internal organs, particularly the liver, spleen, pancreas, and colon. Skeletal breaks have been observed to heal faster than the human norm, but slower than soft organs. The subject has shown the ability to survive with organs that have suffered severe damage or been completely removed. The damaged or missing organs will regrow and become fully healthy and functioning within a period of 1 to 3 months. Despite subject's near immortality thanks to this process, he has shown a completely normal immune system and has been affected by the common cold and influenza with completely unremarkable results. 415's body has undergone several radical alterations performed by an unknown third party. Subject has several zippers surgically installed on his body, one curved from his left armpit to the skin over his stomach, one centered directly over the heart, and 2 installed parallel to each other on the gut. Further physical anomalies have been observed that were later found to have been removed or resolved over time. Most of the torso was covered in a loose flap of skin that could be lifted at any time and was pinned on by 3 safety pins and a sewing button. This anomaly remained for 63 days. Several long lines of stitches crudely placed with a thick black thread of unknown material, raising the surface of the skin by more than a centimeter in some places. A particularly noticeable stitching began on the small of the back and continued up the side until the 4th rib. From here it passed over the neck and forked into 2 branches ending on the shoulders. In an accident where it was struck with some force, the stitching was severed. The entire left side ripped open and almost all of the internal organs spilled out. There was evidence that the stitching was undone and replaced numerous times over a period of 9 months despite constant observation. At the end of this period, all stitches vanished and subject showed no evidence of their existence. A steel lining was found inserted between the solid bones of the skull. If a sharp object like a scalpel or knife was slid through and some pressure applied, the structure would allow the top of the skull to be removed. This mechanism remains in place at present, but is largely unnoticeable to the casual observer. It has been consistently observed by staff assigned to 415 that before one of these physical modification anomalies, the subject will enter a state of extreme panic and heightened strength, accompanied by frantic screaming. At a point during this panic state, the subject will undergo a phase where the environment within 2.5 meters of it will warp, displaying what has been described by observing staff as alien landscapes, operating rooms, oversized organic anatomy, and in one instance, an amusement park. The subject will then vanish from our reality for a period of time ranging from a quarter of a second to the longest recorded time of 3 seconds. Upon reappearance of the subject, a new modification will be present, with occasional repeats of past modifications. Subject is unable to explain to where he is taken during these attacks at any given time, but is firm in stating his duration of departure is significantly longer than his recorded departure time, upwards of several years in some cases. Addendum 1. 415 had been in a state of movement across the United States for approximately 2.5 years, allegedly hitchhiking, staying in the wilderness, and living sporadically in small towns. Although no full record of his activities exists, information from interviews and first-hand civilian reports have provided a partial travel map. It was first sighted in New England, fleeing along the east coast of the United States, then traveled almost directly into the heart of the Midwest before wandering in a rough circle around that area, participating in farm work and manual labor. According to 415, it was running from an organization that it believes to be hunting it, presumably to sell his organs on the black market. The Foundation came in contact with 415 after it turned himself in to the FBI, asking for protection from this unknown organization. 415 was intercepted and contained while in transport to an asylum after turning violent upon its request being declined. So that's interesting. Not for them, though. And that about does it for this episode. In the next episode, we're going to be starting with the Infinite Forest, and we're going to stop with Window to the World, due to reasons that I'll probably explain in the next episode, but are probably obvious as of right now. So, this has been Anashi Sasuke. This is episode 98 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Later.